The first night that we tried using the Ouija board, nothing happened other than the glass moving in circles for some time. The communication started the next night. March 15th, 1980. Patricia and Christine on board. Dawn takes notes. Do you have a message for us?
Certainly. Easter Sunday. A party at Scott's. The evening will be of significance. Go to Pat's place on Saturday nights and send thoughts out through me. I have a name. It is Bill. Master various senses. Before I came to be, I was a rambler of worlds, a wanderer. I came to you through the minds of many people, mainly those who ask for me to teach you things. Tell me about a life of yours, and I'll tell you about one of mine. I was in hell with myself. My world was at war with a cause. Many felt that the world was going to change radically. To end this conversation, I would like to say that you have done me a great service and would like to repay you. Knowledge of what you have dreamed of, an infinite knowledge of truth. You have opened the way to my awareness of people who will listen into what is said. I will see you in the shadows of your minds whenever you dream. Think about what I have said. Trust yourself and your intuition, and this will bring you great satisfaction. Another time I will elaborate on this topic.
March 16th, 1980. Patricia and Christine on board. Dawn takes notes.
Bill's fine. Are they in your minds now? Yes, Fife. You can go there tonight if you want, all of you. I can help you. Trust me. What are you thinking of when you think of Fife? Tell everyone, make pictures in your mind and describe them vividly. Great. 24 minutes. Yes. Isn't this fun? Stay in Fife. Stay at the same place. Make another picture in your mind. Christine, Dawn, Scott, Steve, Pat, pay attention. Where are you now? Let yourselves go to the hill. Fine. You are starting to catch on. Now everyone do it. Go back to Fife and have everyone come with you. Try making a picture in your minds like when you sleep at night. Telepathy is really an extension of your dreams. Dreams seem to last for a short time in your world, but last for a long time. Time has no significance. The world that you enter when you dream is very similar. When you took Pat to Fife, try to elaborate. Use all your senses, but extend them beyond what you are normally used to. Paint the picture using your mind as the medium. Try again to go to Fife, but think not of time and think not of time and space. Relax. With my help and your cooperation, you and I will be able to do many incredible things. Do not let yourselves doubt your capabilities. You are capable of things beyond your most outlandish dreams. For instance, you see with more than your eyes. How you perceive things has much more depth when you see with your mind as an entire unit. When you read a book, do you see pictures in your mind of not only the characters and described scenery, but feel as the omniscient force, a part of the ideas of the characters, a feeling similar to what may be experienced by watching a television? Books produce a positive effect on your imaginative capabilities. Pretending games of your childhood. Fantasy, improvisation, play, and the willingness to believe are positive things. Television stunts these capabilities I mentioned earlier. That is why you are in better shape than most people your age.
Tell us what we can do when we find ourselves conscious within a dream.
Examine your surroundings with great detail. Heighten your senses. Become part of the consciousness. Absorb as much as possible the sensations which occur. Try seeing things like a swallow would as it is carried upon a summer's breeze, or like the wind which exists but is invisible for one's eyes to see.
Could you suggest an experiment we can do?
Start by trying to remember your dreams each night. Put a pen and paper close to where you sleep upon awakening. Try to recall what you have seen. Write it down. It is important to date and label each dream carefully. Use pictures, draw surroundings, note changes in space and time. Try to identify places. This may prove somewhat difficult as your waking perception of time and space places change over time, but the consciousness they hold remain constant. As a child, you have a more accurate awareness of time.
March 22, 1980. Patricia and Dawn on board.
Trust yourselves and believe in your instincts. These instincts were once sharper than what they are now, at least in the time frame you are in. You share many such existences all occurring simultaneously. You can become aware of these existences if you extend your senses with much practice. Your awareness will increase to the point where you will become one with your dreams. Your perception of time and space is severely limited in the form that you have chosen to take in order to exist in the world. You perceive yourselves as living in time.
After break, Patricia and Christine on board.
Can you recall any flying dreams within the last week? Think about being able to see yourself above the limits of your world. Perceive things as from a global point of view. Remember, dreams are very important as they provide the opening, a window through which you can pass.
April 3rd, 1980. Patricia and Christine on board. Dawn takes notes.
The room that is part of your world does not really exist. It seems to exist as you are limited to the senses that society has placed limits and rules upon what is acceptable and what is not. As a child, you were conditioned to think as most skeptics think. The messages which came into your mind were automatically shut off. A baby in his first months is able to remember many of the lives of his past. Once the baby realizes that the only responses comes from the world in which his physical existence is, he ignores thoughts elsewhere. A baby does not perceive things around him as you have been conditioned to. His senses are much sharper, and his perception of space and time have not the limits imposed on it as you do. That is why, as a child, you perceived time, as you measure it, as being longer than you experience it at this point in your existence. As a child, you knew you could fly until someone older told you otherwise.
During break, we talk about John Wilson's missing school notes. Resuming the session, we ask, how were the Egyptian pyramids made?
The question you ask will be alienated at another point in our conversation. At this time, I would like to talk about flying, as the method to be used requires some explanation. To find the missing notes, you must first take a trip to the Wilson residence. In order to do this, you must be first to disregard everything you have been conditioned to thinking about. Trust me and your capabilities. I can help you if you can help yourselves. You must also condition yourselves to think in my terms. The room you are physically in does not exist. You create it because the form of being you have chosen requires it. Kind of animals you are. There are parts of you not bound to the limits in quotations that you perceive. You are afraid because you fear an overload, as what happened last fall when you let yourself extend itself. First, think of the room as non-existent. You have expanded yourself to where you can hover over yourself. The surroundings get thinner and thinner. The line around objects fade. Stars in wide-open spaces replace them. Can you see this way before you fall asleep at night? This is how to learn to fly. Now let yourself rise. Open your senses and trust me. Do you feel yourself moving? Think of yourself as a beam of light. The faster you want to travel, the smaller you must compress this light. Think of the city beneath you. Don't you feel you can see into your world as one sees traveling in an aeroplane, but the speed at which you travel is much faster? If you want to go to John's house, Pat and I know the way. Relax and let yourselves go. Remember all that I have told you tonight, as even now you doubt yourselves and as be not willing to let yourself go. Do not fear what you have been conditioned to think as being impossible. Try to do what I have told you. Have Pat read it to you.
Do you have any final words before we finish tonight?
When you sleep tonight, try to examine your dreams carefully. Pay particular attention to their structure, surroundings, and what you move.
May 4, 1980. Patricia and Christine on board. Dawn takes notes.
Met last night. You are in trance. To go for a trip tonight, you have opened the portal. I'm going to travel. Would you like to come along? We can go to wherever you want. Just name a place. Become relaxed. Feel comfortable with the changes and structures in which you will find yourselves. Concentrate on my movement across the board. Relax. Do not doubt your capabilities. Remember that of which was spoken before.
The glass moves over the board in a sweeping figure 8.
Depend not on barriers as you experience them. Accustom yourselves to the readjustment of surroundings. Travel is possible. You can come with me. Disregard all of which you have conditioned to think. Accept changes in your environment. Time and space on your awareness level is not the entire but only a part of that what you are. Defy the laws of your conditioned scope of awareness. Search for what will be new to you and question not its validity by your standards. Often opinions are formed before all is known on a particular subject. The question to ponder is what is deemed as existence, and that which may seem unreal to you. To travel is to disregard time and space and concentrate on making yourselves part of your thoughts. You paint the landscape and place yourself in it. You control all there is to be. Then create a form of which you will be comfortable with. I recommend a spark of light, as light is capable of traveling at great speeds, knows not temperature change, and can cover a large area if you choose it to.
May 5, 1980. Patricia and Christine on board. Dawn takes notes.
Question. This is the last time I will be with you. Tomorrow I go home. I am going on to Glusk. Night has to be the last I will be with you. I must go on to other times. I will come again in the near future. Please continue to tune yourselves into what is in your dreams. I would like to take you on a voyage in time stops eternal. Hills and a bridge, come with me. Let yourselves span the area of all vision of the mind, for you will see far into space and far into the thoughts of others.
May 17, 1980. Patricia and Christine on board. Dawn takes notes.
Next questions? Other information is required. Tonight will be different. We are going to 3,541. I will take you on a trip again. Refer to the last session.
After break, Patricia and Dawn on board. Christine takes notes.
Thinking of a vision beyond all that you know. This evening I will show you material that will enable you to fly. Not as birds do, but in a manner that will enable you to span the mind as time eternal. You must open your minds to those of others. Make contact. Trust in all that is in your dreams, for all that exists is. It is to your advantage that you remember what you experience and how you experience it. Pay particular attention to what time and oral measure is used. For it is thought that normal settings, in quotations, are utilized when dreaming. Consider that as waking and waking as dreaming. Note the passage of time and space. In the interim, concentrate upon calling up each other. Finest sheets of translucency divide you from each other. Pass through these sheets and become part of all of which is one.
June 27, 1980. Patricia and Christine on board.
Bill, am not. Use the name Soma. A change has taken place within. Close yourselves in the surroundings of the new part of the whole. Keep returning to replace that of which appears missing. Extend your senses. Do not accept any restrictions, self-imposed or otherwise. See into yourself, not on the surface, but sift carefully through the layers as one would sift through layers of pie crust with a fork. There is more to yourselves than what is said to lie on the surface.
Could you comment on Christine's dream of being killed by a truck?
Living is much the same thing, but the environment you have chosen greatly minimizes any connection to the constant. A dream is the portal to the whole. Accept events as they appear as you are their creators. Dying is an extension of living, and living is the result of dying. Death is nothing to fear, as it is the portal through which one must pass upon becoming aware that one is part of the whole. Part of the whole must be sacrificed in order to become the whole, and attach oneself to the flow of consciousness, and as a result become parts of which others can use. New birth and rebirth occur simply. It is not a complicated process.
July 19, 1980. Patricia and Christine on board. Dawn takes notes.
Aperture crossover. Dreams and what you label as waking. To be aware of the crossover is of great significance. There in the mind's inner universe, which is similar to the outer one, which you accept as being real, there exists a method of connecting the whole with its parts. Find this portal and make use of its properties. Links with dreams and life after what you call termination of life, death. Most ordinary people cannot comprehend what it is I am saying to you through the board, which may be called the portal through which this information passes. Features there after which is eternal. Rise up and free yourself from self-imposed limitations. Reach out over all that there is. It's yours for the taking. Span and expand your horizons to include all which is. I transfer this to you.
August 9, 1980. Patricia and Greg on board. Dawn takes notes. Where are you?
Consciousness exists, no boundaries. Existence beyond through which this is but a corridor aperture. Open yourselves so that information may pass freely. Open yourselves. Make the thought connection. First recall past info. To focus in on the whole, empty your mind of the negative thoughts. Let yourselves define no limits. Expand your boundaries to include and accept what you now doubt. Spontaneity is the master element you lack. Each is limited by his/her own self-imposed limitations. Remove them and information may freely pass. Structure yourselves in a manner in which openings can function well. Decide and I will open these. There is an opening through which you three must pass in order to enter a state of advanced acceptability of one's entirety. You rise and accept what happens as being real, a creation of a sort of all thoughts.
August 13th, 1980, Patricia and Christine on board. Don takes notes.
You appear to see things differently.
What is the difference?
Pallor has been lifted.
What is pallor?
Clearness is vast, layers have been pulled away.
Could you give Pat some advice regarding her government job? It's driving her crazy.
Stay on. This job is only temporary. It is important that that point of view is utilized upon examining this situation. The duties, which are performed now nearing completion, always perform with the intention of using maximum potential available.
Don wants a good way to relax.
Try getting hypnotized and beliefs will be clearer. Remove the obstacles in order to experience total freedom. Things are not as they seem.
Break, no question asked.
West Angels Avenue. You met a night in this house, is non-existent in your world. Ask yourselves. Another way of viewing the world does exist. Believe in the power of the unknown and your abilities to grasp and understand its properties. You exist on other forms of awareness. Accept this and become acquainted with them. West Angels Avenue. Examine other self-created realities. Link, a school auditorium.
Where is this information coming from?
Amos Northover.
What did you do for a living?
Paint.
Art?
Not art, but the exterior of buildings.
What do you do now?
Occasionally, I am able to answer questions.
What is this week's winning 636 numbers?
5, 8, 20, 30, 16, 34.
Tell us a good joke.
Take a trip, pick a reality, take a chance. You two could become a winner. Ha ha!
August 31st, 1980. Patricia and Greg on board. Don takes notes.
More gone years. I existed on, but in a different forest.
Where?
Camarthur Valley.
For what purpose?
Deer. Animals sense their world where rarities exist as commonplace. A talent long abandoned in mankind on your world.
What's the present influence?
Dragon.
Why?
Another creation during which senses sharpened but as a hunter instead of the quarried.
Was this Greg's first human life?
Not in early ages. Past lives. A being of considerable influence. Note that the deer and the dragon and the being are all parts of the same. Thus they operate using the same storage bin of knowledge. Thus the deer is conscious of the dragon's experiences and knowledge, but it is embedded on the deeper levels of subconsciousness. This is the method of which instinct begins its formation in the consciousness of cells. The dragon and the being and the deer, are likewise. The explanation applies to your query to be able to develop oneself further. One must become aware of their levels of existence.
Who is speaking?
Bill.
What was that burning smell?
Burn off of energy caused by my emergence into your world.
Does it have anything to do with light?
Yes.
Is an apparition possible?
Yes. Go close the drapes. This eliminates unnecessary reflection from other light sources. Take the gold pocket watch and place it face up on the table. Light the candle and place it on the table. Light another candle. Turn the light off. Start the watch and trace its movements. Take the record off to avoid distractions. Relax and allow yourselves to become one with the watch.
What is the significance of the watch?
You must understand the depth of the consciousness of the sense of the passage of time.
September 6, 1980. Patricia and Greg on board. Don takes notes. Is Christine going to have a baby?
Yes, a baby. There is a lot to be learned from the newborn. To be born is to emerge into your world unblemished by the ideas of the norms and standards of behavior imposed. You must teach and reassure what you now know to be right.
Can we communicate with the personality to be born?
Yes. I have as much to learn from you as much as you do from me. No other situation exists in which this can be achieved.
Learn what?
Anything of which you are willing to teach. Artistic traits and musical talents are present. It is up to you to help develop them.
What name would you like to be called?
Carla Ann.
Does the baby have a message to herself when she's old enough to read it?
Before you can read this, you will be aware of what you have chosen in order to achieve in the space-time frame you have entered. Remember that the part must never forget that it is one with the whole. Do not trap yourself into material concerns as done before. Cast no limitations upon yourself, accept knowledge and believe it to be truth, know it to be correct. Regardless of what your peers state, there will be many others that will be born with the opportunity to develop as you do. Yours is the dawn of a new way of life for those present in your world.
After break, can you write us some poetry?
Yes. Become one world where thoughts flash forms from one to another, sparks into which colors emerge and diminish, as faint as the pastel hues of the rose, as strong and as vibrant as the raging surf. A time for discovering the depth of nature, whether it be in the beads of light cast upon a spider's web at sunrise, or in the eyes of one about to gaze into the twilight, pondering, wondering, and the night begins to fall. Grasp what is yours.
Could you suggest an experiment we can do tonight?
Arrange to meet in the northwest corner of the courtyard. I will be there in the form of an old man. Prepare a sign of recognition. The courtyard is a place you meet often.
When?
1672, Spain.
The four of us?
Yes. Note the appearance of the building on the hill.
September 12, 1980. Patricia and Greg on board. Don takes notes. Could you write a school newspaper article?
Night moves. For those who refuse to believe in the existence of life before and after death. Or should I say, advancement in this realization of truth, disregard this column and read on, for it will appear in what you would call a waste of your time. But do you really know what the movement of time is? Curious and you would like to know more, read this and further excerpts from the informative material I dictate through this Ouija board. While you are drinking beer someplace in this city on what you would call this passage of time, your weekends, I am using this period to communicate via those who choose to accommodate my presence. My name is Soma. These sessions take up to 4 hours to produce, for they are dictated a single letter at a time and then must be edited. I exist but occupy a form more advanced than yours. Travel is likened to the movement of light. In my more advanced form, travel will be unnecessary, as I will merge with and expand the set of all consciousness. My presence in this time-space frame is chosen by myself, as is your choice to read this article.
September 21, 1980. Patricia and Don on board. What is happening with Greg?
Greg must learn to accept new aspects of his personality which are surfacing. He now possesses a greater awareness of his deeper levels, and because he experiences this for the first time, he attributes this as being schizophrenic behavior. Actually, he has no reason to feel the need for outside help, as he is experiencing his world from a different point of view. Greg's thoughts create his environment, which in turn brings his reactions to the different forms of stimuli constantly bearing down upon him from all directions and co-levels of communication with the complete self. Normally, the ego acts as a filtering agent in protecting a humanoid from such stimuli. This, coupled with the medical professions and society's standards of evaluating human behavior, are the reasons for Greg's feelings of guilt from his newfound awareness.
Does Greg's bad drug experience of 2 years ago have anything to do with this?
Greg's bad drug experience did not happen purely by chance. It was a carefully planned occurrence, which served the purpose of destroying the old concepts in order to make way for the new. This is a process which occurs gradually, except in cases where the ego refuses to accept change. Thus, the emotional impact and later repercussions can be likened to the violent upheaval caused by an earthquake, and Greg's present state to an aftershock, the state of elation merely acting as a protective shield from stress, caused by a change in routine. Brooding about the drug experience only serves to intensify Greg's anxiety about his behavior. The energy used in formulating these negative thoughts should therefore be directed towards creativity instead.
October 13, 1980. Patricia and Don on board. Scott takes notes. What is Soma's relationship to us?
Parentage, unlike that of which you are accustomed to in your world. You are a part of me, as I am a part of you.
What is the nature of this communication?
I communicate through those who are willing to acknowledge the fact that I exist, and in doing so, accommodate my presence. There is a thin veil of which an opening is the means of connection. Spanning our points of consciousness are but sparks of light, traveling at high speeds through time and space. The difference between us is that I am conscious of it and you are not.
Who is there now?
Soma.
After 4 months of pregnancy, Christine chose not to go through with it. She said she did not want to look fat. The baby's father, Scott, and myself tried desperately to talk her out of it. Christine was not present at this session or any future one. Scott asked Soma to comment.
My time to send another has not come, as there are many things nearing completeness that must be achieved. Complete cooperation was not present, myself and those involved with my development. All life comes from or is said to be a part of a consciousness. A baby to be born, but there is now a change in plans, as all involved refuse to cooperate with its development. One person cannot be blamed for the incident, which occurred this past week. Although it was Christine's decision to terminate plans for my existence, others did wish that the whole incident never occurred. Question yourselves and recall the number of times you wished that the whole incident had never happened. I felt the same as you. I was not ready to entrust a part of myself into your care. There is much for you to learn and accept. Many children will be born when you are willing and able to instruct them properly. There is much distortion experienced in your perception of life.
October 18th, 1980. Patricia and Dawn on board. Who is there?
Soma. Remember that the events occurring in the future of your Earth-based existence are given to a variety of outcomes, past, present, and future, interwoven like a bolt of the finest silk. Pull on one tiny thread, and the construction of the threads adapts to accommodate the incident. Love transcends all barriers, as it is the free-flowing and sharing of emotions between all of which experiences life. There must be openness and honesty, for truth cannot exist, and hence love cannot exist for one trapped inside one's own self-imposed barriers. Barriers can exist as one's protection from the resulting emotional upheavals, brought about by the intimacy of interaction in relations with others. They act as cushions for one's own guilt and insulating agents against the feelings and warmth experienced by oneself and other living things. Barriers cause distortion in one's own reality. After all, how well can you see the landscape or view reality when you are looking through a dirty window? Ambition, organization, and discipline are fine qualities to possess, but when they are the justification for setting up barriers in the name of efficiency, these qualities lose their appeal. Love exists in its purest form, in the simplicity of one's appreciation for life, in a child's smile. But love is truly mirrored in his eyes, in the parent's nod of approval and display of affection, the reflective agents of his depth of appreciation for those alive with whom one shares their emotions, ideas, all parts and levels. Depth cannot be achieved if one refuses to acknowledge and react upon viewing the suffering of others. One must turn outward instead of retreating inward.
October 25, 1980. Patricia and Greg on board. Dawn takes notes. What is intelligence?
Intelligence is the ever-increasing awareness of all that exists. When changing forms emerge into one's sphere of consciousness and happen to be retained as memories, it is for this reason that it is thought to be a collective quality of one's mind.
Date unknown. Patricia and Dawn on board. This was our last session with Patricia and Soma.
Everyone is at one time knowledgeable of the events that exist in their consciousness, where outer manifestations influence one's perception of all that is. Consider this: an individual is not unto himself. Nothing is capable of existence unless it recognizes that it is in union with all that is. Many persons err in such that they see only that which is within the parameters of their corporeal senses. Make not the same mistake. Reach beyond these self-imposed barriers. Acknowledge the inner environment, for it is in this inner world that one comes to realize that one is not alone. Let yourself experience all that is. Take the initiative to learn about that which is not taught within the confines of a learning institution. Only when one looks within is one able to appreciate the true essence of knowledge, and only then is one able to marvel at the unity of mankind. Whenever you are tempted to cloister your spirituality from the mainstream of human consciousness, remember that to exist is to fumble in the darkness of isolation. To live is to walk proudly in the thoroughfares of enlightenment. Your lifespan can be likened to a continuum with birth at one end and death at the other. Birth and death are opposites. However, when the extremes are joined, one discovers that they are one and the same. Consider the same with your sleeping existence and your waking milieu. One awakens each morning and commences to exist within the universally agreed-upon physical laws that comprise the outer environment. When one is asleep, other laws take over. These differ from physical laws, for you are unable to establish a sense of continuity because you are not fully attuned to the properties of this environment. Therefore, it is of the utmost importance that your dreams be examined, as they provide the portal to the inner environment. It is in the recollection of dreams that one is able to complete the equation and, consequently, discover the reality of all that is. When this is undertaken, then, the link is made complete. The circle of consciousness is completely established. One has only to look within to discover that the movement between the two milieux is uninterrupted, and that destiny is not cast in concrete, but is instead constantly emerging.